Welcome to the Haunted Half Moon Inn. The Master has been expecting you. He reminds you to not use your wooden stakes to kill vampires. Vampires are already too greatly discriminated against. The Master would appreciate it if you would instead put a stake through the like button and become a guest of the Haunted Half Moon Inn by subscribing to this channel. Doing so would really help me to reach more viewers. Join me, and together we'll haunt this world one house at a time. My chilling beach trip to a haunted hotel. Have you ever felt a bone-chilling cold on a bitterly hot day? I have. I was frozen in the sweltering summer heat. It was the kind of heat wave that's not suitable for man nor beast. Simply standing outside for even 5 minutes could cause you to sweat through your short-sleeve shirt. The humidity that pumped in from the sea flooded the air. It was brutally oppressive. Yet I had been frozen in place. An unnatural chill crashed down my spine like a cresting wave crashes on the beach. I felt a unique kind of fear. It was the type of feeling of fear that you remember for the rest of your life. I wouldn't have believed it if it hadn't happened to me. It all began when we went on a vacation to the beach. My name is Kevin Jones, and this is my ghost story. I was 17 years old that summer. My parents were taking me and my younger sister Hannah on vacation. We normally went to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina for our annual summer vacation, but this year was different. Mist of the Sea Beach in South Carolina was where we were headed. Summer vacations were a highlight of our year. We didn't have lots of money, so we only went on vacation once a year, and the trips lasted only about 3 to 5 days. Those glorious days of summertime fun were sealed into my memory. It's amazing how so short a period of time can stand out so much more than the seemingly endless monotony of day-to-day life. Mist of the Sea Beach was much smaller and less known than Myrtle Beach. My parents said that it would offer a quieter and less crowded experience. We lived in the Midlands of South Carolina, so any trip to the beach was always welcome. Unlike the Midlands, the low country of South Carolina offered a nice sea breeze, which made the humidity much more bearable. The beach there was beautiful. The sand was similar to the sand elsewhere along the Carolina shore, but the ocean seemed different. Perhaps it was because there were far fewer beachgoers, or perhaps it was because of the shape of the shoreline. Whatever the reason, the ocean somehow seemed to be more intimate. As massive and as majestic as the sea is, here it seemed as if it was just you and it. It was just you and the endless bluish-gray water that reached further than the eye could see. This beach rested in peace between Charleston, South Carolina, and Tybee Island, which was near Savannah, Georgia. The seclusion gave the impression that you were somehow stepping back in time. It seemed like a time in which everything moved slower, and humans hadn't yet developed and commercialized the beach into a theme park. Isolated as the Mist of the Sea Beach was, I had the sense that I wasn't alone. In fact, it wasn't long till each of us had a sense that we were never alone there. After spending our first day at the beach, we went inside our hotel room so that we could each take showers before we went out for dinner. My sister was going to be the first to take a shower, but we all took turns using the bathroom before she did. Isn't it something how swimming in the water makes you feel like you have to go pee? I used the bathroom first, and as I was washing my hands, I thought that I saw a person quickly walk into the shower. I saw it from the corner of my eye, so I didn't see any definitive shape. It was more of a shadow that quickly moved. As soon as I had seen it, it disappeared. I opened the door to the shower and saw nothing. No one was there. I dismissed it, thinking that it was nothing more than a product of spending hours in the bright sunlight and then suddenly going into a sunless room. The eyes needed time to adjust to the different lighting, I said to myself. After my sister Hannah had been in the shower for 20 minutes or so, she stormed out of the bathroom and said, "Kevin, not funny, you stupid jerk-face!" "What in the world are you talking about? Why are you so mad at me?" I replied as I waved my hands. "Why am I mad? Don't play dumb, doofus," Hannah answered while pointing her finger at me as if it was a loaded gun. Raising my eyebrows, I responded, "Look here, sis. I have no idea what you're on about." "Mom, tell that jerk to apologize to me. What he did isn't cool and it's not funny. I'm almost 16 now and I want privacy," said Hannah with ever-widening eyes. "Honey, please calm down and tell us what you are so upset about," said our mother in an even tone. "Ugh, I could just scream. He plays dumb and nobody does anything about what he did," said Hannah as her voice seemed to rise along with her hands as she lifted them over her head. "Honey, I know you're upset, but I think that you are upset about something that your brother didn't do," our mom responded after making a short sigh. "You always take Kevin's side. It's not fair!" Hannah exclaimed as her face became increasingly more red. "Hannah, that's enough. I'm not taking sides. Kevin couldn't have done anything because he's been right here talking to us the whole time you were in the shower," our mother explained with a sterner tone. "Come with me and take a look. Tell me then, who did this?" Hannah demanded. We walked into the bathroom, and written on the steam-covered mirror were the words, "Beware, beware, beware." It certainly was creepy, but I hadn't done it. Like Mom said, we were all talking to each other while Hannah showered. Dad, Mom, and I never left sight of one another in the time period in question. This caused my sister to believe that I played a prank on her, and we believed that she was messing with us. It wouldn't have been the first time that a family member played a practical joke on another. Although Hannah remained very annoyed, we all went out to the captain's kitchen for dinner. Later that night, after feasting upon delicious seafood, we returned to our oceanfront hotel room, stuffed, content, and exhausted from a long day of sun and fun at the beach. We headed to bed. There were 2 queen-sized beds in our room. Mom and Dad shared one, and Sis and I shared the other. She slept under the sheets, and I slept above the sheets on my side of the bed. Under different circumstances, we would have protested the arrangement, but we understood that we didn't have the money to book 2 bedrooms. Being as tired as we were, we didn't have the energy to complain anyway. All that mattered was that we were at the beach. Vacations to the ocean were the best. Around 11 o'clock was when we had all gone to bed. Later that night, I had awakened from a dream about a beautiful young woman. In the dream, the woman appeared to have been staying in this hotel. Her clothing and her hair looked like the style that was popular in the 1960s. I watched her walk over to the balcony as she gazed at the ocean with a look of gloomy despair. When I woke up, the feeling of deep melancholy from the dream remained with me. Along with this acute sadness was a cold chill. Goosebumps rose on my arms and legs. Fear began to rise through me like the sea rises during high tide. As this was going on, I became aware of an unshakable feeling that our family wasn't alone in our room. "No, no, no! Help me! Somebody help me! Somebody please help me! I'm drowning!" Hannah screamed as she woke up from a terrifying nightmare. At that very moment, we saw a pretty but very pale young woman staring right at us. She was floating 1 foot off of the floor in front of our beds. She was wearing a white bikini with some kind of white robe-like covering that was open in the front. The fact that she was floating above the floor wasn't the only unnatural part about her appearance. She also seemed ethereal or vaguely mist-like. The ghostly specter stared at us, and its mouth seemed to be screaming. Yet not only did no words come out, but neither did any sound proceed from her lips. Highly agitated, this ghostly girl turned around and walked through the door. When I say that she walked through the door, I mean she literally walked through the door. She went right through the closed door like light shines through glass. Silence reverberated around the room as we remained motionless in our beds for a short time. Time felt like it had slowed down to a crawl. What was probably a few moments, or maybe a minute or two, seemed like an eternity. It turned out that all four of us saw the ghostly girl. The spirit looked exactly like the beautiful young lady from my dream. The only difference was that the ghost was pale and partially transparent. My sister explained that she had awakened screaming from a terrifying nightmare. She had dreamt that she was swimming in the ocean when a strong current had pulled her down the shore as it grew stronger and stronger until it plunged her beneath the surface. Her lungs filled with water. It burned as it felt as though the water hugged her so tightly that she couldn't breathe. No one had heard her screams, and she was powerless in the arms of the might of an angry sea. She explained that it had been the most vivid and realer than real nightmare she had ever had. The four of us didn't get any additional sleep that night. We talked about what had happened. We discussed different explanations for what had happened. Dad wondered if the four of us could have hallucinated on account of some bad food. I jokingly dismissed his suggestion by calling him Ebenezer Scrooge. Eventually we agreed that ghosts must be real, and we had just seen one for the first time. Creeping fear remained with us throughout the night. The night that we were visited by a ghost was a night that none of us would ever forget. Strangely enough, the story doesn't end there. Just because you may be done with the dead doesn't mean that the dead are done with you. After an early breakfast at a lovely restaurant, we ventured back to our room. We were there just long enough to change into our swimsuits and to get all of our beach accessories for the day. Not one of us wanted to stay in that room any longer than was strictly necessary. Once we got to the beach, we forgot the extraordinary and chilling events of the night before. It was as though the sun had melted all of our troubles away. Now it was time for sunbathing, walking along the shore, and swimming in the ocean. We were having the time of our lives. The day was hot, humid, sunny, and beautiful. An ocean breeze gave little comfort, but that was okay, because we had the refreshing 83-degree Atlantic Ocean to cool us down. The waves were considerably calmer than they were the previous day. Mom and Dad had gone for a walk down the shoreline. They loved walking down the shore, where the ocean waves became a gentle trickle on the sand. That place where dry sand meets water-laden sand always seemed magical to us. It was as though the ocean was alive, and it wants to wake the sleeping sand up to play. Wearing my blue swim trunks, I laid on my back to soak up some sun. With my eyes closed, the light of the sun still seemed to break through my eyelids in a way that caused me to imagine all kinds of wonderful things. It seemed as though the sun had the power to awaken my imagination. The heat of the sun enveloped me like a warm blanket. Absolutely exhausted from the night before, I fell asleep. Suddenly, I woke up from a deep sleep. Someone had poked me to wake me up. I looked around, but there was no one there. Turning my head, I scanned around to see where my parents and my sister were. No luck. I didn't see them. An icy cold chill went through me. That's when I saw it. The mist-like beautiful girl from my dreams was standing at the shoreline pointing towards the sea. There was a girl who was struggling in the water. There were no lifeguards there. My parents weren't there. There was hardly anyone on the beach at all. The distressed girl was wearing a red bikini. My sister had been wearing a red bikini. Then it hit me. That was my sister. My sister was thrashing in the water. Dear God, it looked like she was about to drown. Racing into the ocean, my heart beat rapidly like machine gun fire. I dove in the water like a seal and swam towards Hannah as fast as I could. My freestyle strokes pounded the water like the enemy that it now was. Channeling my anger and fear, I conquered the distance between us. Hannah had gone beneath the surface of the water shortly before I had reached her. I dove down and grasped her, pulling her up with all of my strength. The rip current was exceptionally strong. I could hear my father's voice in my head as I remembered what he had taught me. Son, listen to me. This is important. It could save a life. If you ever get caught in a rip current in the ocean, it's a really bad idea to try to swim against it. No matter how scary it might seem when the current gets its grip on you, never, ever try to overpower it and swim against it. Instead, swim with the current and follow it as it parallels the beach. That advice saved our lives that day. I held Hannah as we swam parallel to the shore until the angry sea loosed its indescribably powerful grip on us. With the rip current gone, we finally swam to shore and collapsed on the dry, soft sand. After several minutes, I began to make snow angels, or rather, sand angels in the sand, because I was so relieved and joyful now that my sister and I were safely ashore. The angel that day came in the form of a beautiful girl who happened to have been a ghost. A ghost saved my sister's life. When my parents, my sister, and I returned to the hotel, we asked some employees if this hotel was haunted. The hotel staff explained to us that not only did the hotel have a reputation for being haunted, but so did Mist of the Sea Beach. In 1969, a young couple came to the hotel that we were staying in for their honeymoon. The pretty young woman was 19 years old. The young wife shared the same first name as my sister. Her name was Hannah Stone. On a hot, beautiful summer day in July, she went into the ocean to cool off, while her husband fell asleep on the beach. The ocean seemed unusually calm that day. Waves were absent. The surface of the sea appeared as flat as a sheet of glass. So Hannah went into the sea without any concern. Appearances can be deceiving, though. Tragically, that was the case on that fateful day. The rip current caught a hold of Hannah, and it took her under. She drowned that day. Some of the residents of Mist of the Sea Beach say that Hannah was so beautiful that the lonely ocean wanted to keep her for itself. The hotel employees also told us that guests had reported experiences and sightings of Hannah over the years. Such reports seem to be more common when there is a powerful riptide along the shores of Mist of the Sea Beach. The spirit of Hannah lives on at Mist of the Sea Beach. Thanks to Hannah, my sister lives on in the flesh. Next time you go to the beach, remember Hannah, and remember my story. And always remember, just because you don't see them doesn't mean that they aren't there. My Chilling Beach Trip to a Haunted Hotel. Written and performed by Tony Capobianco. Follow the Haunted Half Moon Inn on Twitter. I hope that you enjoyed your stay here at the Haunted Half Moon Inn. The Master requests that you consider supporting me and the inn by becoming a a patron of mine on Patreon. The Half Moon Inn needs your support to keep the doors open. You wouldn't want the residents here to feel forgotten and abandoned, would you? Creating quality scary stories to share with you is very important to me. Running this inn of horror is a passion of mine, and I would truly appreciate your support. The world is hurting. It needs more horror. Help me to heal the world through horror. Together, with your help, we could haunt this world one home at a time. Until next time, always remember, just because you don't see them doesn't mean that they aren't there.